Apple is about to do something it has never done before. This fall, no regular iPhone, gone, not coming. The thing hundreds of millions of people upgrade to every year, delayed. And in its place, a foldable phone that might cost more than your rent. But here's the part that's actually messing with people right now. Nobody, not even the leakers, can agree on how many iPhones Apple is even launching this fall. And that one unanswered question changes everything about whether you should buy, wait, or just ignore the whole thing entirely. I want to walk you through exactly what we know, what's genuinely still a wild card, and honestly, what Apple is trying to pull here. So here's the setup. The iPhone 18 lineup is shaping up to be the most fragmented Apple release in years. We've got confirmed models, rumored models, delayed models, a foldable that might show up in September or might show up in December. Nobody's sure. And one model that might not exist at all. This year, I've been tracking every credible leak on this since January. And there's one specific thing that the rumor mill keeps contradicting itself on. We'll get to that. But first, let's start with what's actually confirmed. Okay, so the stuff that's locked in, the iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max are launching September 2026. That's not a rumor anymore. Supply chain sources, Mark Gurman, basically everyone with a credible track record agrees on this. Size-wise, same as before, 6.3 inches and 6.9 inches. Apple's not touching the dimensions. Design largely the same as the 17 Pro. Same plateau camera module, same flat edges. The big cosmetic change, and I'll be honest, I think this is going to be a talking point, is color. Deep red is described as very likely. No black again for the second year in a row. So if you're a black iPhone person, Apple has opinions about you apparently. Now the chip. This is where things actually get interesting. The iPhone 18 Pro is getting Apple's first 2 nanometer chip, the A20 Pro. For context, the A18 Pro in the current 16 Pro was 3 nanometers. Moving to 2 nanometers means better performance, better efficiency, and more headroom for AI features running on device. In real-world terms, you're probably looking at meaningfully better battery life, faster processing for computational photography, and an AI assistant that doesn't make you want to throw your phone at a wall. And speaking of connectivity, the C2 modem is also coming, Apple's in-house second-generation chip, replacing the C1. It's expected to support mmWave 5G, potentially satellite internet, not just emergency SOS, actual internet access over satellite, and it gets Apple one step closer to never having to write Qualcomm a check again. That last part keeps Tim Cook up at night in a good way. Cameras, let's talk cameras because there's one leak here that I think is flying under the radar. Samsung, not Sony, Samsung is reportedly developing a new 3-layer stacked image sensor specifically for the iPhone 18. Sony has been Apple's sole camera sensor supplier for years. If Samsung actually breaks into that supply chain, it's a big deal. More competition, potentially better sensors, more dynamic range, less noise in low light. The irony of Samsung's camera going inside an iPhone is genuinely funny to me, but that's just where we are. On top of that, on the 24 megapixel front-facing camera across the lineup up from 18, selfies are about to get unreasonably good, which is either exciting or slightly terrifying depending on how you feel about high-resolution photos of yourself. Okay, the iPhone Fold or iPhone Ultra. Nobody knows what they're calling it yet, and honestly, that might be the most Apple thing about this whole situation. Here's what we know. It's a book-style fold, smaller outer screen at roughly 5.5 inches, inner display opens to about 7.8 inches, wider aspect ratio than Samsung's Galaxy Fold, which apparently makes it feel more like an iPad than a stretched phone when it's open. Price rumored to start above $2,000. $2,000 for a phone you will at some point drop. Now, timing is where this gets chaotic. Some reports say it launches alongside the Pro models in September. Other reports say it gets announced in September but doesn't actually ship until December. That gap matters a lot if you're planning to buy one. And here's the thing nobody's saying out loud: this is Apple's first foldable ever. First generation. You know what first generation Apple products are like. The first Apple Watch needed 2 software updates before it was actually good. The first AirPods Pro had a hiss issue. I'm not saying skip it. I'm saying know what you're signing up for. And here's the part that's genuinely unresolved. The iPhone Air 2, the wildcard, the original iPhone Air launched with the iPhone 17 lineup last year. Thinnest iPhone ever. One rear camera, strong reviews, but it didn't sell as well as Apple expected. And now there's a question. Is version 2 coming this fall, or is Apple pushing it to spring 2027? Here's where it splits. Some leakers, including Fixed Focus Digital, say production feedback supports a September 2026 launch alongside the Pro models. Other equally credible sources say Apple pushed it to 2027 to add a second rear camera and fix what made version 1 underperform. So right now, the fall iPhone 18 lineup is either 3 models or 4. And that's a pretty significant thing to not know in April with a September launch. Personally, I lean toward the Air 2 showing up this fall. Apple doesn't like having gaps in its lineup. 4 models is the cadence, 3 feels incomplete. But if we get to July and there are still no Air 2 production leaks, that's your sign it's been pushed. Summer leaks will tell us everything. Watch for those. And then there's the model that frankly got bumped to the back of the line. The base iPhone 18 not coming until spring 2027. This is Apple's most significant change to its release strategy in the brand's history. For decades, one September event, entire lineup done. This year, premium phones in fall, affordable phones in spring. Apple is front loading the high margin stuff and making everyone who wants the cheaper option wait 6 more months. And the cynical read on that is obvious. It's a business decision. Ship the $1,200 phones first, let them dominate the holiday season, then fill in the $800 model once the rush is over. The generous read: supply chain complexity with the foldable and the new 2nm chips made splitting the lineup logistically necessary. Both can be true. They usually are. So where does this leave you right now? If you're on an iPhone 15 or older, September is probably worth your attention. The Pro models are going to be a meaningful jump. 2nm chip, better cameras, the new modem, potentially deep red if you're into that. If you're on a 16 Pro already, honestly, you're fine. Wait and see what the foldable actually delivers in the real world before making any moves. If you are waiting for an affordable iPhone 18 spring 2027, that's your window. Set a reminder. And the foldable, if you're genuinely excited about it, I get it. It's going to be the most interesting Apple product in years. But let someone else be the beta tester. Wait for the reviews. Wait for the second generation. You'll thank yourself. The bigger picture here is that Apple is changing how it launches phones permanently. This split release strategy isn't a one-year thing. It's a new system, and that changes how all of us should think about iPhone upgrade timing going forward. So I want to know, which of these actually has your attention? The Pro, the Fold, or are you holding out for something Apple hasn't even announced yet? See you next one. Peace.